Hey everyone, welcome back to the You Are Enough.life podcast. I'm thrilled because of the two people I'm sitting with today. My very own son, Colin, who is about to turn 20, and of course, Andrew Villalpando, Christian comedian, entertainment evangelist, local expert on Orange County coffee houses and sometimes boba, maybe matcha tea. I don't know what else. Andrew, thank you for coming on the show. Would you just briefly introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about why did you choose to hang out with this guy, a cringy Gen Xer?
I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm super excited, really honored. For me, being a Christian content creator, specifically doing comedy skits, I've really recognized there's been a bridge between generations with the content that I've created. A lot of us share the same faith, right? But I think when curating anything that's relatable scenarios, a lot of people can resonate with that, but also maybe even have different perspectives on it as well. So being able to have this conversation with you, Michael, and you guys is just a great opportunity to connect, and we could share different thoughts and have different perspectives.
Great. We are so glad to have you.
Yeah.
Colin, what brings you to the show today? Why are you here?
Yeah, I just think that it's cool to be here and talk about just being, I think, Christian men in today's world. I think it's cool, but I also think that it's really different given where we are in life, because I think your reality looks different from mine and both of ours looks different from Andrew's, right? So I think that it's cool. And I also am interested to talk to the man behind so many cool videos that I've seen online. So I think it'll be sweet. And looking to get better. So I'm
Okay.
gonna. Yeah.
So before we go any further, I would like each of the three of us to name the video that is our favorite. For me, it's one of the more recent ones, I think. You have Joseph on the phone with Mary, and she's breaking the news that she's magically pregnant.
Yeah.
And Joseph is hearing this for the first time, like a modern person on the cell phone. Oh,
Yeah.
man, that was good, dude. That
Thank
was
you.
really good. Bottom line, it's fun to engage with content that doesn't mess with my conscience and that's actually funny. It's just a fresh take. Like Joseph, the father of Jesus, with a cell phone getting a call from Mary. That's just funny, man, on its own. And it's original. I think that's what I
Yeah.
love about it.
Thank you.
You've gone on a journey. Can you just share a little bit about your creative journey?
Such a story of such really someone unlikely, and jumping into it when everyone's saying, "Oh, it's too late. If you didn't start in the pandemic, you're kind of far behind." A lot of people ask me, "Oh, did you do theater or did you do acting growing up?" Absolutely none of that. The most I did was in elementary school with my neighborhood friends. I came from a city called Eastvale, California. We create little funny movies with our cameras, the flip phone. I did some YouTube vlogging, which is scrubbed from the internet so no one can find it. It was just a little bit of just being a kid. It was technology was new.
Yeah.
You name. Went on to high school and everything like that. Gave my life to the Lord when I was 16 years old, and I was in leadership, everything like that. But I really liked the more business or advocacy side of life, and I thought career. I was going to study at University of California, Davis, which is up in Northern California. I'd submitted my letter of intent to study English and political science to become a lawyer. So this is where I'm at. I'm like, okay, people have said I'm a communicator. I've excelled in English. This is what I do. Long story short, I felt the Lord clearly give me a prompting to not do this. I was very puzzled because I'm like, I did not just work really hard and go to SAT prep on Saturday and all these different things to just go to community college, but it actually turned out to be the best thing that happened to me. So within about a couple months of declining that, I got offered a paid staff internship at my local church, and it was a church of about 2,000. So very quickly, I got to learn a lot being the youngest staff member. I was in ministry for 9 years, and it started just youth ministry, and I started preaching in the youth ministry as well. Then it went into me moving to LA to be a part of a church there and working as a communications director. So that really helped with a lot of, if you've seen the sermon series stuff I've done, I did a lot of that as a communications director, but I was in that role for a time. And then I took on the director of operations role.
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel like I should kind of start posting, but I was so scared. I was like, how am I going to reemerge from my friends from high school? I was like, you know what? I'll just connect with them. So create an account again. I was traveling a lot for work, so I was just posting different things like that. But I really felt a prompting by summertime to double down. And I was like, what can I do that I do in my daily life that I know I can do for years and years to come? Because I know content's going to be draining. I know there's a lot of work to it. So I was like, my mom thinks I'm funny. I love making people laugh. My friends here and there would be like, Andrew, you're funny. I just thought I'm observational. That's that.
There you
So
go.
I start committing to this niche of comedy. And I was terrified, guys, because I'm like, listen, it's one thing if you strike out for other content, but if you strike out trying to be funny online, it's like, I got to delete everything that's happening. I'm going to
Yeah.
be so embarrassed with that.
Yeah,
And
that's fun.
then within weeks, the content just started taking off. And I found
Huh.
myself just so many things changing right away, videos getting millions of views. And then now it's been 8 months, I've crossed 55 million views across all
Wow.
platforms
Okay.
and about 51 followers across the platforms as well. And I say that to just show that anybody can do it. Anyone who has a prompting, I believe, from God, and you do it. And I'm like, imagine if I wouldn't have done it, I would have missed all of this. So that's where I really like to share my story in that way, that just doing something that's authentic to me and stepping out in faith to do it. And you will never know what's on the other side of that, of just showing up.
What are
Sure.
you seeing with Colin as you listen to his story?
Yeah, I think it's cool that I think a lot of the times a guy like me who's in college, or whether even a guy like my little brother in high school, I think oftentimes we're able to dream big, especially with someone coming from a background of being religious. We know that there's always more to the story. The pursuit of the next state is where I find myself in a lot, because I know, oh, I want to work for the Lord. I want to be doing my best and representing Christ well. And sometimes I think it's hard to get caught up in the details of what exactly does that look like? How do I figure out a way to honor God while pursuing something, like you said, that I could do for the rest of my life? I think even personally, I'm 19 years old and I'm about to graduate here in 4 weeks from college. So I've worked super hard to be where I am.
It's true.
And in high school, I was taking these engineering courses at the community college. And then I quickly realized I wasn't excited about that. So then I
Yeah.
transitioned to finance. And even that little shift is hard because it's unknown. So I can only imagine what it's like to do 9 years in ministry, right? And then decide to go to making stuff on a phone.
Yep.
I assume that's a big risk and it's unorthodox. Not many people do that. So I think that it's cool because even I'm like creative and I've had a little bit of endeavors of making different accounts on Instagram, trying to get something out. And quickly, I think they've just faded because I haven't stuck with it. But I think it's cool to see the impact and the reward of having the confidence and the perseverance of sticking with it, also partnered with faith. You haven't just been going off your own power. So I think that's inspiring. I think it's hard for me to get to that spot by nature.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you sharing that. And it's so true. I really admire how you weren't afraid to pivot. And that's one of the key things I've learned and is echoed in my story, is just
Yep.
being able to close your eyes and be like, all right, I'm just going to pivot and go for it. Because you got to understand, being an operations director, I'm literally, my day's stacked with financial statements, financial reports.
Yeah.
We had 2 buildings, a 4-acre property. It really was all operational, behind the scenes, me trying to rise to as a young leader. And then now to be like this, I just can only imagine people I worked with, contractors, whatever, they'd be like, what is that
Yes.
guy we worked with? It's just, you just never know. But I thought I found purpose in that time, but I have so much more purpose and alignment. And it took some time to recognize how aligned I was with this and whatnot. But yeah, I just figured I would slide that in because I loved what you said. And I so agree with it.
Yeah, that's sweet.
You said some things came into alignment. So how did you know, Andrew, that you were in alignment?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would say once again, I'm coming in at the beginning of this, not seeing myself as someone who could maybe be an entertainer. Coming in, I'm like, let me just try to, like, what do I know? What's authentic to me? And I'm like, oh, Christian, I've spent the past 9 years in ministry. So I'll just try to, I've been through good stuff in ministry, but I've also been through a lot of hard stuff in ministry. I've seen really both sides, a really holistic view of that in the church. So I was like, let me just try to reflect on scenarios, change some things, and just the little things I've observed. At first, I didn't feel as aligned because, like, I'm just like checking and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so cringy. What am I doing? I'm a business guy. This is crazy. Like, why am I doing this? I actually thought I had border life crisis or something. I was like, something's not right. But then once it started picking up traction, and once people were like messaging me and saying, I'm going through a hard time, and this literally helped lighten my mood. Hey, I went through spiritual abuse in my church, and this just helped to validate like something that I wasn't alone or that I wasn't crazy. Things like that, or just some people saying, hey, as a believer, it's nice to have a fresh face that is clean humor, but it has a different take on that, kind of like what you guys were saying a little bit. And then I was like, that's when the alignment started happening of, oh, I think this is maybe a little bit more than just making some skits to entertain like I thought it would be. I think I started becoming suspicious that God was up to something really good and special with this.
Ooh, okay.
And I just saw it continue to grow and grow, and God opened up opportunities. And then I started feeling the internal shift, and I felt passionate about this. And I woke up excited to do this. And I really love doing this. So when I started feeling that, and then I started thinking of, oh, when I was younger, like I had a passion for this, or, oh, I saw this in myself. I started going through maybe who God designed Andrew to be before society told him who he should be, or before maybe a trauma, or before people speaking things over me. And I feel like God was able to be like, hey, this is who, like, you're natural creative. Yes, I used you for my glory for operations, but you're creative and you love connecting with people and you love sharing your story to help people and you love bringing joy. That's when I started identifying that alignment, and it's never wavered since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in that burst, Andrew, you're saying really it was a combination of first you risk, then it started to take off, and then you realize, whoa, the impact. It was the personal DMs and the different feedback you were getting. No, this wasn't just funny. This helped me. I love that you did not expect to help people. You were trying to have fun and you were trying to listen to God, if I understand what you're saying. Colin, what do you hear in what he was just saying about learning to be aligned? Because right now you're not 28. What are you hearing in his story that kind of helps?
Yeah. I think the whole concept of taking that risk and then seeing the impact happen is cool. And that's what I yearn for. The only reason I'm in finance is because I want to help people grow financial literacy, because I think it lacks. So going into advisory is rooted in something deeper than just how many zeros can be in the bank account. But I also think there's also so much more to my life that isn't limited by a possible 9 to 5 one day. And I've experimented with that already. Even outside of classes, I enjoy studying the Bible with people. I enjoy just being with friends and like showing them that it's deeper than just I'll see you once every week type of thing. So there's more substance there. And I enjoy writing. I enjoy creating. I enjoy talking. And one of my accounts that I haven't opened it up in a while, but it was just, I would just set up a camera and I would either have poetry or some sort of little message that I wanted to share. And I would just put it out there because of what I was feeling personally that I know I'm not alone in, or I know that one of my friends is out there. So I think that sticking with that and being able to see the impact is just the next step, because I think it's easy for me to get bogged down with any sort of like pressure or expectation, graduation or the next job or the next promotion. Like I can see that happening where it just ends up consuming me, but I want to stay away from that point because I wouldn't want to live in that space, especially like hearing stories of how freeing it is to have something that you're passionate about, or even like with my dad, just being able to see that he's able to pursue this while still like working a secular job. I love that.
Impact, Andrew, more impact. You're impacting my son. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Also, Andrew, it makes me happy to be in your presence. You're impacting me. That's pretty cool. Like just this. If no one else watched it, Andrew, this would be a treasure. You know what I mean? That's so entirely cool. What a gift.
It means a lot.
Yeah. And your effort now that I'm trying to create, it means a lot to me. Because I see what it is to try to make it clean, make it look good, make it professional. And I'm cringing at some of the earliest videos I made 6 months ago. And wow, I just appreciate that we are talking about creativity and we're trying to bring God's kingdom and we're trying to be like God. We're to reflect his image. In any case, I'm curious, even right now, the three of us, what is the wisdom or the contentment that's bubbling up to the surface as we talk? And I want to start with you, Andrew. You just recapped your story. We responded to your recap.
Yeah.
And we're enjoying a little fellowship here. What is the wisdom in this?
Absolutely. What I think and what I feel in my heart is this reinforces that, like, how important brotherhood is, and men getting together and just talking, sharing ideas, sharing reality, sharing stories. I think that's really powerful. But I just really love when you got, talking about working in more of the marketplace or the secular space, because I feel like, for at least for me, it was always illustrated as, all right, you either go into ministry or you don't, or you just go into the marketplace. It was never modeled, this duality that could be present, until I met this guy. His name is Eric Knopf, and he is a tech CEO, but he's also a guy who is sold out for Jesus. He writes books, he speaks. So he actually discovered my content at the beginning, and he's helped me even some ideas,
Oh,
give me some
wow.
inspiration and stuff. So he's become a good friend and just somebody that is just, I have absolute amazing things to say about him. Point being is, he talks about, he's really modeled the marketplace and really being able to still do ministry and do that. And he really talks about this idea in one of his books. And it's about that whatever you do, ultimately, just do it unto the Lord. We put so much pressure on figuring out everything. I know for me, I was just trying to find the game plan when I was 18. What am I going to do from 18 to 80 years old, basically? But when you just take each step in each season, almost an assignment. Okay, right now in front of me, I'm feeling this pull to do finance and serve people through stewardship and and literacy. As long as you do it unto the Lord, we may not get it perfectly right, or we're supposed to end up in this path. I believe that God will orient us or direct us to be where we're supposed to be, as long as we're just being faithful in each season, like Joseph, like Ruth in the Bible, and just showing up and then trusting God for whatever the future he has, and trusting that he'll open doors that only he can. And all we have to do at that point is just walk through it. So that's what's on my heart.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. You just mentioned Joseph, and then I thought of a part two to the reel. So this is Joseph like a week later after the phone call, and he's doing what you just talked about. He's negotiating, he's talking it out with God, and maybe hearing back from God. Like, he has no phone now. That could be pretty funny.
Yeah, I love it.
But thanks again, man. I love what you're processing there. I am curious, what is the wisdom for you, Colin? You're sitting here with two men that are older than you, one slightly older, one double your age, more than. What does God want for us when we sit down and do this kind of fellowship? What do you think?
Yeah. I just think that it's cool, just the power of Christ and how it's our common denominator.
Yeah.
The fact that,
That is pretty cool.
like, through just a phone and you reaching out to Andrew, like, we're able to have this is just nuts.
Yes.
I think that it's crazy that we're in different states right now, like 1,000 miles away, and like we're still able to do this. I think that it's cool that we're able to do that. I think the wisdom is just that, like, we're not limited. I think I've put, like, the power of God into a box. I've, even through leading Bible studies or like little discussions on my college campus, like, I've been using this phrase more and more. But I think because I've been raised in the church, like from when we were in California to now here, like, there hasn't been many Sundays that I haven't gone to church. I think the wisdom here, I think, to be put clearly, is just that there's a community, and that it's farther and deeper than just the local church on Sundays, which is obvious. I feel like right now I'm literally reenacting that one bit that you had about, like, people coming onto the podcast and saying, like, obvious stuff. Like, it's totally obvious. Like,
My job is to go,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, so real, so real, bro. Wow.
So real.
Yeah.
That is so
Yeah.
funny. Not at all. That's so funny.
But yeah, I think that's just what's sticking out, as obvious as it may seem, but that's cool.
And maybe as common as it is, right?
Right,
Christians get
yeah.
together and talk, and they appreciate it. What
Yeah.
I'm sitting with, the wisdom of this is that you don't get what we're enjoying in 15 seconds.
Yep.
You don't get that in 45 seconds. You get a taste, you get a sample. To me, it's compelling. Do you think this is the kind of content that someone that is 20 or 28, would they spend 36 minutes watching this, or would they click off early. What do you think? Do you think anyone else in your age brackets would enjoy vicariously enjoying it and watching it?
Yeah, I think they would. I know a few people. I think it takes the heart behind it. It depends on where that person is, obviously. But even to Andrew's point earlier, a lot of this stuff, while seemingly common to us, that we are able to do this. And we've before had conversations with other brothers like this. This isn't the first time that we're being vulnerable with another dude. You know, there is that target demographic of people that this is less common to. So like for a guy that may be just coming out to church with me or something, he might be able to see something that he's literally never seen before. There are people that are raised in families that don't have a close relationship between father and son. There's people that have been hurt within the church or by someone who's a part of a church, and like then they build this massive stigma around it. So I think that this could possibly be really refreshing and impactful to people. So I think there's a complete possibility that people would be interested.
What
Yeah.
do you think, Andrew?
No, I love that. You said it great. And I think what I would add to it is what I've been seeing, just someone who's literally chronically online like all the time, is people are craving authenticity, whether it's just in general, because especially because of AI and all these different things, or even influencer culture. I've seen so much, whether it's just on on an interpersonal level or even with people in marketing sharing trends and stuff. People are craving authenticity and really human connection, human conversations, unfiltered spaces, connection as well. So I think this really exemplifies that, and I definitely think it's worthwhile, and people would watch generationally across generations, or even my generation, because it's authenticity. It's a real conversation. It feels like it literally feels like I'm kind of like in person with you guys, even though I know there's a screen.
Yes.
It's that kind of conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
That's because I worked really hard to get the Ethernet cord directly connected to the MacBook.
Bro.
No, I'm with you. I'm looking at questions that we discussed, and I'm thinking about, is there any other wisdom, Andrew, that you have acquired? What are little nuggets of wisdom that are surfacing for you as someone that took a risk, content creator, and not yet 30 years old?
I would say workout, really become rooted in your identity with Christ. And I'm sure people have told me that all my life, and I've tried, really tried, but stepping into visibility is a whole different game. I was like, oh, it doesn't really matter until people have millions of followers, but your character at times gets put on trial unfairly. People say things that you don't realize or maybe can be misunderstood. Even for me, I was like, dude, I'm doing comedy. That's where my brain was going at the beginning. What does anyone have to say? It's just what? It's fun. We're having a good time. But I think for me, really setting God as my foundation, like truly, I know it sounds quintessential in elementary, but setting him as my foundation, going deep in the gaps where maybe I don't feel that alignment with what God says about me. I identify if there's any orphan spirit within me that will do anything out of striving or people pleasing, you name it. Really wrestling with that and finding my worth and my fulfillment in Christ, because this stuff, this content stuff, whether it's your content is good one day, it's not good the other day. People feel like your biggest fan at the beginning and then you don't hear from them again. Everything oscillates so much that you can just start when you have your identity settled, you start seeing everything else as just an added blessing. Okay, this is just something to enjoy. Book of Ecclesiastes talks about that, of like basically anything, whether you do this or do that, it's all just from the giver, and we can just enjoy the blessing itself and just take it as what it is in that moment, savor it, and not keep expecting anything, not worried about getting the next blessing, because we're content in the here and now. Our identity, our eternity, our hope, our joy, our peace, all of that has been settled under Christ. That's what's on my heart right now to share about that.
Yeah, thank you. What does that do for you as you listen to that? What resonates?
I think that it is cool that you mentioned you just initially thought of it simply as comedy. Oh, I'm just making these videos. What's there to it? And then your character then being on trial. Like that's the test. That is exactly what's happening when the Bible speaks about doing everything as if for Christ. That's when it becomes the reality. It's when the iron goes through the forge. And when it's tested, it's no longer just this easy, light thing. Coming to grips with the impact, and people on both ends of the spectrum, real big fan or just a total skeptic, I can totally see that coming into play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair
What
enough.
about you?
I have a question actually, Andrew. I love what you said, but I wonder on a regular basis, as someone that is visible, you use the word visibility. I wonder, what do you pray for and what do you pray against
Mm.
related to contentment apart from performance, right? Just in your identity, and wisdom. I don't know if you specifically pray for those two categories, but I am very curious, Andrew, what do you pray for and what do you pray against? And I ask that because I try to live that out.
For me, it's been a lot of, first of all, I always want to remember where this came from. Yes, I did my part in the natural, right? So I showed up, I worked hard, I was obedient to things, but
Mhm.
I know that I know and I believe with all my heart that this came from the Lord. So never getting in the gift, even the fact that I'm able to communicate, the that I have a body that can move, all those things really is from
Yeah.
him. And getting down to the nitty-gritty, I pray, just remind me, Lord, that it's from you. This could go away tomorrow and you are still enough with that. I
Yeah.
prayed, Lord, save me from my dreams. As crazy as that sounds, when you can either
Really?
start momentum, or if you're just a visionary in general, you could have different dreams that may not align with something that will produce Christ-like character, or maybe it's not for you. So I'm always like, God, save me from my dreams, save me from shiny objects. And I also pray for a lot of protection for my mind, because now I'm with so much noise that I pray that I don't get discouraged. I pray that I don't see myself in any higher than I am. I think humility is not thinking too highly of yourself, but also not thinking too lowly. It's like an accurate view
Yeah.
of who God, it
Yeah.
tells us to be. So allow me to stay in that area and never allow anything to even get above me. Or like I said, I got myself here. Praying against that, and then just praying for God to really guide me with what's next. Like for me, I say my mission a lot is laughter opens the door for truth to walk in. And when culture laughs, it listens. So I've been like really centered on those kind of missions with what I'm doing. But I just want to be like ready to pivot at any time, not be so. I pray, God, don't let me be focused on the vanity metrics like followers or views or anything like that. Guard my heart to just build a fence around what I'm supposed to be doing, to get joy out of it, to get purpose, to submit it to you. And then the last thing I'll say is I just always want to have a teachable spirit as well. I played sports in high school. I had a dad who owned businesses. I've had mentors throughout my life, and I know how important it is to have a teachable spirit. And in my context, I've built friendships and people that are farther along with me, even in this online journey as well.
Yeah.
But I always want to be able to, even if I read a comment, not be so quick to even see it as, oh, people are hating, this is criticism, or if I get a DM, I want to be quick to saying, hey, could there be like any sort of truth in this? Have I gone too far with this joke? Did I say that whatever? Because I have a responsibility to God ultimately of being a voice, being a personality, you name it. So I just always want to remain teachable in that way and just be open to correction, being open to things. And I'm 28 years old. I need a ton of grace as I figure this out publicly, but I just want to stay committed to those things.
Yeah. Thank you for capturing all of that. Yeah. You're 28 and your brain just finished forming about 2 months ago.
I actually
According to
feel that. I'm not
biology.
kidding. I actually feel that like the prefrontal cortex that shifted these past few years. So it's funny you say that.
Anything else you're sitting with there, Colin, as he finishes what he was saying?
Yeah, I have a question. Drop it. Yeah.
Drop that question.
I wrote it down. So you're talking about how the impact, right? The people that are sending you messages, and then you're trying to like decipher, okay, is it truly something that's out of line that they're saying, or am I like a little bit prideful in this, or am I trying to like really trying to evaluate what they're saying, seeing if there's any truth, like seeking to understand is ultimately what you're articulating in that last part there. So like, how do you manage to hit on some objectively hard topics like politics, your whole Christianity, like embodiment throughout your page, and then even things like gossip, the Bible, like stories in the Bible. So how do you manage to hit on those objectively difficult topics so boldly, yet keep it like fun and light? What's that balance that you're trying to strike there? Are you like thinking about it carefully on how you can get the truth to walk through that door? Or are you more so just trying to get people to think and then let them like teach themselves, almost like you're just throwing them a lob and then they do the rest of the work on the back end?
No, that's actually an excellent question. And I think the first part I'll say is I'm still figuring that out, right?
Yeah.
I have a long way to go with everything and figuring it out. But I would say also a little bit of both that I'll do. Like for me, I set aside time to do complete brainstorming where I get in my most creative environment, often a coffee shop with some coffee or matcha or something like that here in Orange County. And I allow my mind to go. And sometimes I'll close my eyes and, all right, God, is there anything I could share that's funny, but doesn't cross the line or isn't prideful or whatever, or doesn't show like unloving or whatnot? And I would say for me, there's ones that are just like funny. Like I'm just like, it's just funny.
Is.
Yeah, like even the Joseph one, right? Of getting the call. It's things like that where it's being able to take our faith and have representation in media. Oh, can you imagine in the modern times if that happened? And like those are one of those things, but also people who don't know about that, they're like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what is the context of that? If they're because I have people who are non-believers that follow me, which has been very surprising for me. Or there could be other ones like the friend who doesn't. I have a skit that says I've done 3 or 4 of them, like the friend who doesn't play about Jesus.
Yes.
And sometimes I am, but my point being is like you can see that and almost get a little stirred up of, you know what, that's right. Like I'm gonna stand for truth. Like someone's even commented before, man, it kind of is that easy at times to just be like, if someone asks you like a cornering question, even and you're like, yeah, it's a sin.
Yeah.
Like sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's things like that. I think that's a strategic thing. It paints a reality that we may be too afraid to even step into or have never seen it done. So there's things like that. And then the last thing I'll say even is sometimes even with the pastor stuff I've done, because I love pastors. I have lots of friends. I'm pro pastor, pro podcaster, pro church, all of that. But I think there's been different things that we picked up along the way. Me being super guilty of it, being in ministry since I was 18, of different preacherisms, pastorisms, things that we've just added on as junk that isn't necessary to do. And that's when you see that of like me making skits about that, because it's a reflection opportunity where I feel like we should laugh at ourselves as Christians and be like, wait, I actually do kind of do that. Like, why am I doing that? Am I just trying to assimilate into culture? Do I need to do that? Can I be a unique person? Or is there ego talking when I preach? Am I trying to nurture an insecurity? Yeah, that's a really long answer. Sorry, but that's what's on my mind with that.
Great. Yeah. Andrew, you're making me smile and think again. The guy in one of your reels that does not want to admit that they're in the ministry and there's a female voice going, oh, so you work for a church.
Yeah.
You triggered like a curious thought. What are you getting at in that reel? Is it that Christians somehow are afraid to be connected to being Christians in the sight of the world? Is that what that reel's getting at, or is it something different?
Yeah, I think there's a few things that it touches. It's the association where some people have said, as soon as you mention you're a pastor or a church, people shut off all conversation. They may have preconceived notions that immediately bombards and it creates a block right away. So there's that bucket that it touches on. There's the other bucket where here in America in hustle culture and building a career, there can be a lot of inferiority or insecurity around your career in ministry because people will be like, oh, that's a job? Or what's a weekend experience director? If you tell that's like a non-believer, they're like, okay, what's hospitality director? So I think there's also that where sometimes there can be that human insecurity where we don't want to be bold. You know what? This is a high honor. Like I get to work for God's church. If you don't understand it, that's fine. I don't have to impress people with titles or flashy titles or whatnot. And then third, I'll say, I think there's also ego a lot of the times where they don't want to say the pastors. So they'll say, I'm director of a regional nonprofit within the music and communications. It's, bro, what are you saying? When I said missionary, it's like I'm a global worldview advocate of something. So I just use a lot of those things. So those are the 3 buckets I would say it touches on and my kind of my message and what I want to encapsulate.
Wow, that one's well done. And what I love about it is it builds up. And I'm like, I cannot wait to see how this reel ends because the girl voice is so relentless in staying after the character that's avoiding the truth.
Yeah.
The truth is simple, right? Yeah, I'm in the ministry. But
another thing to add to that is I also do this where, for example, that's a very popular thing on social media is that guy who goes and interviews people. We see it everywhere. So for me,
what do you do for a living?
Yeah, it's like I don't need to reinvent the path. It's like I can plant Christians in real environments and real things that are trending in culture and just ride the wave of it. Surf the tsunami of that and use it to communicate truths about Christian human experience, God, you name it.
Yeah. It's actually a good point.
Yeah. We're at a natural transition. We're about 2/3 of the way through now. And Andrew, you had prepared a few questions, and I love this. I love that you took me up on my offer. What questions are you sitting with as a 28-year-old, or just as a result of sitting with Colin and I? I'll go anywhere with you. And I'm curious, what are the questions that 20 or 28-year-olds are sitting with, but maybe they don't come to a cringy salt and pepper Gen Xer or a boomer? They never get around to asking.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for creating space for me to even ask these questions. And I think it's great to have this intergenerational conversation. The first one, Michael, is that we hear a lot of, I feel like there's a lot of negativity about Gen Z, and that's what I'm in. I'm a Gen Z. I'm at the very end of it, but I'm still Gen Z, and I'm very proud of it, and I love it. But I hear there's a lot of negative connotations at times from the generations farther along, or Gen Z's
Yeah.
this, they're ruining this, yada. But then there's been times where people have actually highlighted positivities or superpowers of Gen Z, or the way that they're going to carve out a new future, a new way of doing things. So I'm curious, from your perspective, what about Gen Z can you affirm? What about Gen Z stands out to you than what you've seen in the past before with other generations?
That's a great question. It's challenging because I'm not Gen Z. And I think we tend to mock what we don't understand. It's so much easier to go into mockery, dismissal. Oh my gosh, eye roll, side eye. I don't get it. And I think the reason why, Andrew, is this is deep, and I'm going to go there for a second.
Sure.
When the light bulb was invented, the father-son relationship and the father-mother family relationship shifted because either one or both parents left the house for hours a day, and we were no longer on a daily schedule in sync with the sun. That was the first thing. It was the light bulb and the ability to have people working 24/7. Then we get wars like World War I, World War II. World War II removes 18-year-olds. Colin is in Vietnam, and his whole brain gets scrambled by the horrors of war. Okay, that was World War II. Those people come back in 44, 45, and the government gives loans to the white folks, but not the others. That's huge. We don't talk about that enough.
Yep.
Those mostly white families build this prosperity culture, but the emotional intelligence was like low because the guys that went to war had no connection that was deep and total with their father. That's how my parents grew up, is the children of the greatest generation. The whole message was put up or shut up, just deal with it. Stop with your fussing. That's the message of their youth. Your emotions are an inconvenience. So kind of go away with that. Relax. Okay. So then my mom and dad, their generation goes to Woodstock and they rebel and they just go off the rails. They do whatever the heck they want to do. But in any case, now my mom and dad have me, and I'm born in the early 70s. I'm just this nerdy kid watching technology evolve. And I think what happened there is I was quite satisfied to be myself, and I'm pretty free to do whatever.
Yeah.
So then I marry another firstborn, my wife, and we're used to dealing with it, getting over it, finding a solution. We're used to computers crashing and finding a way to fix it. And we're also fascinated with technology. So then as I'm coming up, I'm solving all my own tech problems, and I'm nerdy and I'm just blown away that we can actually do this, whether it's a dial-up modem or the evolution of the iPhone. I remember taking video of Colin in a swing on a Trio 650 from Verizon. I'm saying this long summary to say I'm in the middle of a generation gap and a shift because I was around. I knew a life long before phones when we could just ride bikes all night and do whatever. Then I have Colin, and in about third, fourth, maybe fifth grade, Colin gets his first phone, and the ubiquity of everything from pornography to stupidity it trickles into Colin's life at third grade, and the boys are telling him, go do this, go look at this. It's just crazy. So I am saying a lot to say I feel for Gen Z because they've just been dripping and saturated in media, information. The world is far too big. We were designed for villages, not global everything. So I have respect for Gen Z because they're swimming in it. And God knows, and Colin knows, and his little brother Ian knows, I got practically a bachelor's degree in Microsoft, Apple, and Google time limits. I was trying to do the right thing as a responsible parent, but it just gets in there. Then the net result is Colin doesn't feel like he's enough. And the millennial generation, which you're a little too young for, you were saying, but in any case, they also marinate in this message of you're not enough, you're behind, you can't keep up with your notifications, you can't answer your phone fast enough.
Yeah.
And Gen Z is going, dude, this technology is amazing. Just click on the message and answer. Or if they don't answer, they must be rude on the text. I'm just going to call them. And all the millennials and younger go, oh, don't call, that's annoying. And I'm like, how can that be annoying? So I think through conversation, I can gain respect for Gen Z, but at first look, I don't understand it. And I want to do comedy about it. I'm like, why do they have to be so extra when I call them? How come they haven't texted back? But there's actually a really deep story as to why they haven't texted back.
Yeah.
So that's my wild, long-winded summary.
No, you're so good. That was needed. I appreciate you sharing that. And that kind of leads into my next thought and next question about Gen Z. They've coined this phrase of Gen Z, or maybe just people in their even alpha, let's just say high school to late 20s, as the most anxious generation. And I understand that because now we've lived through so many unprecedented times back to back. Yeah. Now, even right now, there's all this uncertainty economically, different stuff, foreign affairs, and just AI taking over. So the jobs that were there, the pillars of success are changing. There's just so much noise even happening with identity and who we are. I'm curious for you, what anxieties did you carry in your 20s that now just really don't matter or have lessened a lot that you feel like you want to speak into?
Yep. The first thing that comes to mind is ministry hero worship. All I wanted to do was be in the ministry at 20 years old.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do is get done with college so I could be in the ministry, so I could be behind the pulpit, so I, it was this people pleasing, fear-based. I thought I was going to love people by being Mr. Super Preacher Guy. And I never got the chance because I think, honestly, I kind of land like a beta rather than an alpha. So I don't think I was considered to be ministry material. I think someone even told me that at one point. Yeah, you're not ministry material.
That's crazy.
And it just so discouraged my soul, right? Because I got infused into this fellowship that I wanted to be so much up in front. I wanted to be one of the cool kids. And I thought ministry behind the podium was cool kids. And even the way I related to guys in the ministry, it was very enabling and a little bit codependent and maybe a little bit idolatrous. So that's what I sat with in my 20s. It was not about tech. It was not about notifications. It was not about feeling behind. It was like, ooh, I want that. And I want to be wanted.
Yeah.
And so in my about 18-year-old, let's say to 23, 27, my hustle was to try to be funny. And so I make a joke about I was the Will Ferrell of my ministry, just so goofy, a little bit tall, skinny, white guy, sarcastic, native in that. But I couldn't get deep. I felt dating and falling in love was eluding me, and I couldn't be in the ministry. So it was almost like, I guess I'll settle for a career in education. And even as I tried to get my credential, I kept running around doing ministry stuff, avoiding the hard work I needed to do to get the darn credential.
Yeah.
And God, I think, was surfacing some things that I can look back now and go, I have some compassion for that 23-year-old version of me, or that 25-year-old version. At the time, it just kind of low level, I guess you all would say low key. It kind of sucked in me. I couldn't quite make sense of it. I just always had this, I did have the sense that I wasn't enough, or I wasn't measuring up, or
Yeah.
I wasn't having my quiet times in the morning early enough, or they weren't high enough quality. So I sat with some real insecurity, and I think I still do. But I think in my 50s now, I feel a little more settled in who I am. And I so much enjoy my time with God that it's not like an obligation or a measurement of quality. There's no report card grades anymore.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say to that. I wonder, what does that stir in either of you as you just hear me run that down?
As someone who's been in ministry, like everything you said, you put language to so many things, myself and my friends. There's a big pool of people aspiring in ministry out here, especially in Southern California, with all the different schools, you name it. So everything you said, I totally resonated. And I think that's also, Michael, led to a lot of, with the whole idolatry of ministry. And that's kind of led to why we're here now with all the, when faith leaders fall, when there's fractures in the church, people just scatter because the illusion, the American Christianity dream has fizzled before their eyes. So I just love that you actually shared that as well. And so I absolutely just loved what you had to say with all of that. And I think it's solid wisdom.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. I love that you asked the question and you wanted to. Like when we were setting this up, you wanted to ask questions. I was like, oh,
yeah,
that feels so reciprocal. That's what I'm after.
Yeah.
So when you said you found your happy place being a creator, this is it. This is my happy place. I'm going to be walking on sunshine for a couple of days after this, because this feels very congruent to what I think I was made for.
Yeah.
I'm curious for you, Colin. You heard me run it down based on his question. Anxiety, insecurity I was carrying. What resonates for you as you hear that story?
Yeah. I think my generation is definitely the most anxious by way we would define anxious today. I think that anxiety has changed over time. Even hearing you talk about that long explanation of the generations leading up, just articulated right now, like that anxiety, I'm sure was still there. I think it's almost the same notion as, oh, like the world is more dangerous than it's ever been right now, like in neighborhoods and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure to some degree it is, but it's also just, it's no longer communication by village. It's now like an absolute metropolis that spans the entire world. So you get you get like the view of every worst thing going on, like at the touch of your phone. So it's just amplified. And it's like, yeah. So I'm thinking about that and how like the anxiety is changed because of this overwhelming, like, even when you,
information overload.
Yeah, and like bad things online or like news articles that are discouraging. And then there's equally as much anxiety that's caused by seeing every good thing that people have, like Cristiano Ronaldo, and like, oh my gosh, he has this super cool car. Or I'm into cars. So like when I see someone with a cool car, I'm like appreciative for a little bit. And then eventually my sinful nature comes through and it's, dang, I wish I freaking had that.
Yeah.
So it's like on both ends of the spectrum, there's this like concept of needing or wanting that's totally awakened.
Yep.
And like the whole concept of social media, I think it is good because obviously this is a result of that. But I think the way that it's formatted, the way that the algorithm works is to get you to be hooked on a soul level. Like they like I literally get stuff catered to me for like golf clubs, cars, like vacations and like hikes and stuff. And like, because I hike a lot of 14ers and stuff. So they've got my number. They know exactly who I am.
Yep.
And they're just going to come at me as often and as frequently and as effectively as they can, leading me to be anxious, even through seeing cool stuff that ultimately I want to work hard for. But then it just leaves me feeling like empty inside when I haven't lost anything at all. So I think that's kind of what's sitting with me as well. Like just that whole concept of anxiety. But I don't know. I'm curious to see if this will change over time. I'm curious what my kids are going to be like. If this is all trailing down to 20 years old, like I could very well have kids in the next like I probably will in the next decade, right? So it's like, what's the result? And like, how am I going to try to like attempt to be still centered in truth? And how am I going to have an impact on my kids? And then, yeah, I think down the line because I'm prone to planning.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about that impact.
Provocative question, Andrew.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a good
No,
question.
dude, that was
got
good
us
stuff.
talking, man.
The last question I have is, I feel like this generation, we're being told like so many different people what to focus on, what matters, what lasts, what won't matter anymore, what's a thing of the past. There's once again so much noise, like I even said in the last question. What would you say, Michael, that are things that we should focus on, that you would say we should focus on now that will pay off later, whether that's spiritually, financially, general life, career, you name it? It can be anything. I'm curious about that.
Great. As you're asking the question, three things came up. You know me and my commas in a series: time, money, attention. Time is so limited. None of us get 1 second more than we're allotted, right? The clock ticks at the same speed for everybody. Time is precious.
Yeah.
We have a choice. We have 100% choice where we spend our time, how we invest our time. You get what you get. We have no idea what the end date of our life is, but we all get 24 hours in a day, right? Okay. It's a limited resource. What do we do with that? And to pause and consider that is really important. The algorithm is going to keep you chasing, and you're not going to stop and consider time. So we have to, I think stop and consider is like the umbrella. So stop and consider time. Really important. Where are you spending your time? So you're in a bachelor's degree. So you're a content creator. What does that mean for your time? So you say you love God, you want to follow Jesus. What does that mean for your time? Does your lived out time reflect your priorities? Of course it does. We're always living by our priorities, but do our stated priorities match our priorities that we're living out? That's really important.
Yeah.
To stop and consider. So then time, money, and attention. So then you got money. Do you really believe in generosity? Is your money showing it? Not that you're going to show anyone. And do you realize that money grows over time if you don't spend it all on bobas or eating out or slick new cars? Or some people are like big on this pay cash for everything. Okay, I can see the rationale for that. But what if I didn't pay cash and I made my cash grow at a higher rate than the loan on the car?
Yeah.
So I have $8,000 to spend on a car. What if I took 7,500 of that and invested it and paid $500 a month or whatever? There's a way to be shrewd with money that isn't awful and ungodly. Actually activate. We can shepherd the money and grow it so that we can go do the thing we're passionate about and stop trading our time for money over here.
Yep, absolutely.
So if I had my way, I would do this all the time. I would be content creating, meeting people, connecting, and enjoying it. And then maybe writing books or blogs or going on whatever adventures. And lastly, attention. And I'm ending on attention because I think the biggest battle that millennials and younger face is the battle for their attention. The algorithm is diabolical because it doesn't care. It wants your attention. It's going to keep coming. It is battery powered. It has no soul. It's just going to keep harassing you. You have 300 unread notifications. It just,
Wow.
relentless, diabolical. And we have to call that for what it is and go, no. Turn off the red dot. You're in control of that. Apple can let you turn that off. Do not have notifications buzzing and bopping after bedtime. Put your phone away before bedtime. These things, we have to handle the technology or it absolutely will handle us. That's the thing with AI is AI just reveals our laziness to create, to do the hard work, and our desire to consume. It's so easy. And I'm not trying to have a hot take about AI is terrible. I just think it's the latest thing. At first, it was the axe or the pencil or the automobile. It's just another technology that's making things easier.
Yeah.
Okay, there's some good to that. There's also a whole world of trouble that happens when there's no relationship, no hard work, no money and time and attention invested in getting what you want, whether it's getting a carrot out of the ground to eat it or getting your body from this place over to the coffee shop. There is a cost. We just may not count that cost if we're just swept up in, oh my gosh, did you get the latest update?
Yeah.
That could be pretty bad for you if you don't check it.
That's wisdom. I never had that perspective on the algorithm, how it doesn't have a soul. It's unrelenting. It erodes our attention and all these other different things that you kind of shared. I have to chew on that a lot because I really have to understand the gravity of the algorithm and it being this ferocious beast. So thanks for sharing that.
What are you sitting with?
I was kind of sitting with the same thing. I'm sitting with the fact that we are designed, one, to be a part of a community, not just to view life happen through a phone. I think that it is sad to hear about how anxious, or just talking about how anxious lots of people a little bit before when I was born to a little bit after, or just anywhere in between, like the teens to the 30s, mid 30s,
Yeah.
just how we have been swimming around and how vast the spectrum of technology is, how it's truly a love-hate relationship to a T. So I'm thinking about that. I'm also just thinking about how there is an impact that we can have through being aligned, as you were saying, Andrew. And it's just cool to know that there's people that I'm in it with, that we can be together as we try to find that balance, strike that impact just how we want, and know that it's not going to be perfect, but that ultimately that's the mission, to try to help people. So I'm just excited. I think it's going to be cool coming off of this conversation to just think about ways to help other people, but also just be ever more aware of all this stuff that's opposing us.
Yeah.
That's a good reality check, I think.
We just did an hour and a half and it flew by, and I'm so grateful. But what are you sitting with from this conversation?
Yeah, I would just say it's great to connect with you guys. It's been such a privilege. Thankful for the duality of technology, where as much as it's,
Yes.
caused some things, it definitely has powerful things like this so we can connect and feel like we're in the same room, just chatting about life and faith and all of the above. So just want to really echo that it's important. And I hope people even take from this that it's important to be plugged into a local community as well and have those like-minded friends who share that common denominator of faith. But also online, you can find community with people too, and know that's also available. And the last thing I would say along this whole content journey and just everything we've all discussed is just never underestimate what God could do in 6 months and months, and take something out of this is just show up, say yes, and really trust God with the rest of it. That's all I got.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. And thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Colin, for joining me. I've been on him, Andrew, for a long time to create content with me. Today's the first day.
Oh, that's awesome.
He sat with me to do a recording. So thanks for inspiring my son to work with me and collaborate here. Thanks for all that you do, man. Thanks for cooperating with God to do it, and truly to push through the sucky part, the hard part, and get after it and actually execute. I appreciate you pushing through because it is hilarious. What you produce is funny, dude, because it's so true. And I think Christians need some really good, non-cheesy content to consume. And that's what you provide. And you also tell us a little bit about who we are, which I love. You're jabbing us a little bit, and it does land like playfulness, not like really,
mockery.
Mockery or mean-spirited. So thank you.
That's good.
Thanks for being on.
Man, that means more to me than you guys know and stuff. So hearing that, it just means a lot to me. So know that I'm leaving this conversation encouraged and having 2 new friends, Colin and Michael, 2 new brothers in Christ. So I appreciate you guys seriously so much. This was awesome. I didn't even realize how fast it went by. I was like, wait, what? It's over? But it's been great.
Thank you.
That's good.
I think your boba's ready now over at the cafe. You got to go pick it up.
Probably melted now.
That's funny.
All right, guys.
See you later, Andrew.